Hi everyone, I'm Hegmo, and today we're going to be continuing our Prime Weapon series and talking about the highly anticipated Great Axe Prime Weapon, Laphria. In this series, we're showcasing each Prime Weapon individually, generally looking at Stage 4 Primes for ease of access, and discussing their strengths and potential weaknesses. So far, we've had a chance to look at quite a few of them, including the Greatsword, the Scythe, the Axe, the Harp, and the Sword. I have a few others in queue that I promise I'm going to get to soon, as our party is just working on optimizing gear sets to be able to fully talk about things like the gun efficiently, but we'll get to those as soon as we possibly can. If there's a particular weapon you'd like me to prioritize that we haven't done yet, let me know. We're closing in on our static, having access to almost every Prime weapon. My last one's going to be the hand-to-hand, so I'm looking forward to finishing that series off and being able to share a review and go back and look at everything comparatively. But this week, back to Laphria. Laphria is a great axe, which is usable only by a single job, Warrior. This is one of the two primes that Warrior actually has access to. I personally started with the Greatsword, and it's been my go-to for several months now. So I'm excited to finally compare the Great Axe and the Greatsword for myself. After the first few days with Laphria, I have a few thoughts, but let's look at the specifics on Laphria first. At Stage 4, Laphria has 361 base damage, 488 delay, 30 strength, vit, accuracy, and magic accuracy, and 269 to combat skills. It also has a unique 7% double attack passive, which we'll get into in just a second because that becomes very important. At Stage 5, these stats scale up even further, increasing to 380 base damage, 35 strength, vit, accuracy, and magic accuracy, 277 to combat skills, and 10% double attack. And of course, like all primes, Laphria has a hidden effect similar to the relics, which activates at Stage 4 with occasional double damage on the first round of your auto attack, upgrading to triple damage at Stage 5, further boosting white damage output. We've seen some crazy auto attacks so far, with the prime auto attack passive hidden effect combining with Warrior's Empyrean passive, which also doubles the damage. I think our record auto attack so far with Laphria has been around 13,500 damage in a single hit, which is followed up by a double attack. That's pretty crazy. But anyway, let's talk about the weapon skill. Laphria has access to Disaster, which is a single hit weapon skill with very high strength and vit modifiers, and like all the other prime weapon skills so far, great TP scaling, favoring high TP weapon skills for optimal damage. Disaster self-chains to make Distortion into a 3-step darkness, and can self-chain infinitely with a variety of other weapon skills, including Upheaval, due to Prime's tendency to prioritize lower level skill chains. It also notably chains with Savage Blade to make Distortion as well. Disaster is a fairly strong weapon skill, hitting for extremely high damage when buffed properly. We were hitting for anywhere from 70 to 90k in a full buff situation with a Corsair, Bard, and Geomancer helping us out, and it will easily hit for cap damage when fully buffed with Soul Voice, Bolster, or Mighty Strikes. I don't even think you need all three combined. Pick one of the three and you will do a lot of damage. In any instance where you're zerging, this is going to be hitting for near cap damage, if not capped. I want to talk about that further in a moment, but before we do, let's talk about the passive and why it's so important. The double attack passive on Laphria is a massive gain for Warrior. In most situations in endgame, Warrior's goal is to reach 100% double attack rate. And this is possible because Warrior has a large amount of double attack in its traits, I think up to 33% when mastered. With the 7% double attack on Laphria, a slot where you don't often see double attack in ultimate weapons for Warrior, you're able to reprioritize other parts of Warrior's gear sets to increase stats across the board while maintaining that 100% double attack requirement. A really easy swap you could do is switching out your Ambuscade Cape from Store TP or from double attack to Store TP and probably still maintaining that 100% rate, but we've been able to do some other cool stuff like working in the Empyrean boots in place of the artifact boots, which have notably taken that foot slot because they have 9% double attack on them. Switching to Empyrean boots adds a huge crit damage bonus and a variety of other stats like DT that allows us to switch our rings around. It just makes itemization on Warrior much more flexible. As an aside, however, I do want to mention that the devs have suggested that they want to increase the stats on artifact and relic armors up to be on par with the newer Empyrean +3. There's rumors that this will be attached to the Limbus remake. As they change the Limbus content, they're going to allow you to then increase the stats in some way, whether it's a +4 or another stage of reforge for those sets, just to be a little bit more competitive with the Empyrean options. Again, this is all speculative at this point, but I think that there'll be a lot more flexibility in gear sets in the near future. So I'm looking forward to that. But when we look at Laphria, for example, just that option of having the double attack in your main hand weapon opens up a lot of options when compared to Helheim, for example. Speaking about that comparison, however, let's dive a little bit into Laphria versus Helheim, the other prime weapon that Warrior can use, and my go-to for several months now. I personally picked up Helheim as my first prime weapon, and I've had a lot of good luck with it. I think it's been an extremely strong weapon, but Laphria has been kind of pitched to me as a much better weapon repeatedly over the last few months. So I was excited to finally pick it up and be able to compare these two weapons side by side. And here's a little bit of my anecdotal experience. Laphria has higher base damage. It's exchanged for a little bit higher delay, and it has the additional 7% double attack compared to 7 store TP at stage 4. As we discussed earlier, that added double attack allows for some interesting itemization options across the rest of your sets. It's also worth noting that Warrior has a much higher combat skill rating in Great Axe than with Greatsword, with an A+ in Great Axe and only a B+ in Greatsword. This results in about 20 more combat skills when using a Great Axe, and you can combine that with the +21 Great Axe skill on the Boy Lorica +3, and you're looking at a 41 skill difference between the two weapons. Combat skill directly affects your attack and your accuracy, so I think that there's a lot of other kind of hidden passive benefits perhaps to favor Laphria over Helheim in that sense. Just switching to the Great Axe, for example, I gained about 95 attack without any other buffs changing. So if we were to be gaining about 95 accuracy as well, we could even just fully buff with attack food or defense food or something like that and skip any accuracy from food, and that might open up some interesting opportunities there. When we get to damage, however, anecdotally, the damage between the two weapons and weapon skills is kind of similar. As a greatsword user, I was constantly hounded by others about how amazing the Great Axe is, and that I should switch, I should get it, it'll change my life. And having both at stage 4 now, I have to kind of say that they're kind of the same. They're likely within a few percent of each other in terms of damage and performance, each bringing unique benefits to an encounter. For example, has much higher base damage. I've seen some of my highest auto attacks that I've ever done on Warrior with it on. Plus, Great Axe also has access to other weapon skills that are super beneficial, like Armor Break or Full Break, which becomes a massive debuff in endgame encounters. I used to start every massive Zerg like Gartel or Aita with Chango equipped so that I could Armor Break, and then I'd switch my gear sets into Helheim for the Zerg. There's a lot of convenience in removing that weapon swap out of my gameplay. I can just equip Laphria, I can carry any TP from the last fight into Gartel, immediately Armor Break, and immediately start spamming Disaster. It's a little bit more efficient. Helheim, on the other hand, is a slightly faster weapon with lower base delay. The added store TP is great as well. You can't sleep on store TP, and it's usable by multiple jobs compared to Laphria only being usable by Warrior. On the weapon skill front, in Dynamis and Odyssey, etc., I frequently use Shockwave to sleep packs of mobs for damage control, as well as a lot of nice added utility. So at the end of the day, I kind of think these weapons are pretty similar in terms of their output. As a general review, I'm going to give Laphria a 9 out of 10. Laphria is really strong. I'm nitpicking differences between Helheim and Laphria here because Laphria has been talked up a lot to me. But we're talking about two weapons that both do cap damage in a Zerg. They're both very good. Disaster's very strong. The double attack passive is excellent for equipment options. It's great. Should you make a Laphria? I'm going to stand by my standpoint that if you're a warrior main, yes, I think you should make Laphria. It's really good. You won't be upset with the damage. The itemization options that come with adding that double attack are going to be extremely beneficial to you. But I do stand by my position that if you're debating between Helheim and Laphria, it just comes down to what jobs you play and your kind of preference. If you're a warrior only main and you like big axes, Laphria is great. If you also find yourself playing Dark Knight or Rune and you want to maybe use something that benefits a lot of those jobs without losing a massive amount of damage with the performance on war, Helheim might be the weapon for you. Warrior's in a great spot because of that when it comes to Prime. Not every other job has access to multiple Primes. In fact, I think only maybe Red Mage with access to the dagger and the sword, and maybe a couple other jobs have multiple things that they can use. The Ranger perhaps with gun and bow, but Warrior has two really good options to use. My only complaint there is that Spalarisos should be usable by War. Bring back one-handed axe wars. But as far as Laphria goes, it's a great weapon, and I think you would enjoy using it as a warrior main. I hope you found this video informative. If you did, consider dropping a like and a subscription. And if you didn't like it, let me know where I went down in the comments. I often do really bad math and misquote things, so feel free to point those things out. I welcome the corrections, and we're here to learn together. I stream Final Fantasy XI and other games over at twitch.tv/Hegmo. If you want to join us in on our adventure in real time and chat with us and the rest of chat, feel free to drop by. We stream multiple times a week, and we're always happy to see people coming over from YouTube. If you'd like to continue this conversation elsewhere, you can also hop in the Hegmo Discord. Links are down in the description. And if you happen to be on Shiva or interested in playing on Shiva, you can always pick up a link pearl and play with us in game. We welcome people from all, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, goodbye.